It is lunchtime in Texas. Good afternoon to everybody. Appreciate everyone joining us today. Should be a really fun show. I'm looking forward to it. That's audio good there. See Shane from this side of the radio in the chat. Andy Cowley's in the chat. Saw Anime in there. Wild Cascadia Radio. Thanks for being here today. WB8, WB3, EJS is in the chat. IK04. Thank you for joining us today, guys. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to this stream. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here. There we go. Thank you for being on the stream today. Hamradio 2.0. I'm Jason, KC5HWB. I've got Fred, the founder of QRZ, whose call sign is AA7BQ, if I got that right. And he's going to be coming on today talking to us about the awesome website at QRZ.com. Before I bring him on, I do want to make a couple of announcements real quick. Of course, next month is the QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo. We had Eric, who's the host of that show, on the Lunchtime Livestream last week. So you can go out there and check out that interview. The YouTubers Bunch will have another booth this year. I'll be in there Friday night. We're going to do our happy hour, and I'll be in there probably Saturday afternoon, evening, and probably again most of the day on Sunday. A couple of the other guys will be in there as well. Should be a pretty good show. Those virtual events are not a replacement for an in-person Hamfest, but they are good in addition to, I think. This is my opinion. So, a lot of really great presentations. You can scroll down through all these and see there's like 90 plus presentations that will be available for a replay for 30 days after the Hamfest weekend is done. So if you go register for the Hamfest weekend and you watch a couple of presentations, but there's a couple you miss, you can go back and rewatch them for 30 days. They'll be available. Finally, after months of preparing, all three of those. After months of working on this, the first episode in the extra class that I recorded from the North Richland Hills Amateur Radio Club last winter, which this question pool is good for another 3 years. Yeah, the question pool updated last June. We recorded this class last winter. Took me a while to get it all put together, but the first episode will post tomorrow. Tomorrow on Thursday, I'll post part 1. It's probably going to be like a 9, 10, 12, I don't know yet, part. I haven't finished them all yet. I'm about a third of the way through editing. Well, I'm a third of the way through posting them. I'm further in that in editing. So the parts 1 and 2 are available to the patrons now. Uploaded those yesterday, so you can get parts 1 and 2 now. Patrons get most of my episodes, all except the Friday shopping episodes, you get early access to. So parts 1 and part 2 are up for patrons now. Patreon.com/hamradio. Part 1 will go live publicly on YouTube tomorrow, around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Haven't decided on an exact time yet. And it'll be a 2-hour session of the extra class training material that's good through 2024. So those of you who've been waiting on that, it is finally here. You can watch it, rewatch it, pause, rewind, go back. And I put some place markers in the thing too, so you can kind of skip through it if you want to watch a certain section and whatnot. So I'm really, really excited about that. But today we're going to be talking about QRZ.com. And I want to make sure here. Yep, that's good there. So Noel's in the chat. Steven's in the chat. Thanks for joining us today, guys. And okay, let me switch my cameras here. Make sure I've got everything unmuted. This and this and that. Okay, and let's bring in Fred. Hey, Fred, good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
Hi there, Jason. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I appreciate you taking the time out today to join us on the live stream.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Good.
We're up in northern Arizona today, just south of Flagstaff, a little place called Munns Park, and it's nice and cool, and that's why I stay here. Better than Phoenix during the summertime.
Oh, I imagine so. Yeah. Well, you told me earlier you were in Arizona, and I'm like, those trees in the background don't look what I put. It's not what I picture in my head about Arizona looking during this time of year. So, so it's good to see some greenage and cool weather out there where you're at.
It's very nice here. Yeah, it's not too far from the Grand Canyon here, about a couple, well, maybe a 2-hour drive, but
Okay.
it's in the same county that we're in here. So,
Oh, good.
and half of Arizona is like this, and the other half of it is pretty deserty.
Yeah. I've been through Flagstaff once or twice. I think that's a really pretty area for what it is. Flagstaff and Shiprock and all that out there. I like that area. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's a really beautiful place to visit. So good. Well, hey man. Once again, we're going to talk about QRZ. I'd like to hear a little bit of a history, if you just whatever you want to share about how you got started. You know how old the website is, and how you got the idea, how it's come around since then, and kind of where you came from, if you don't mind sharing that with us today.
Sure. Uh, well, the QRZ went online officially October the 23rd, I believe it was, 1993. That's 28 years ago, almost 28 years ago
Wow.
now. I was working in the computer business prior to that, and I actually had an internet email account, and back in the late 80s, and I'd been reading these text-based news groups about Hamradio and things like that, and all the people on there were talking about, well, it would sure be nice if we could have our call book online, but and this was before the World Wide Web. There was no web browsers back then. It was just text. And someone mentioned at the time that they knew where to get the data from the FCC. There was a process where you requested it, and uh, it came on a half-inch tape drive, tape. It was about a foot in diameter. You can see a foot. Anyway, big tape drive, and big tape. And I was lucky enough such that I had one of those tape reading machines at the office where I worked. I worked for Sun Microsystems, a pretty big computer company. And the other kicker was that it cost $700 to get a copy of the data. You had to actually pay that, and that was mostly a copying fee, but nevertheless, it wasn't free. You had to order it, and it came out once every 6 months. And so everybody on the internet was saying, "Oh my God, that just doesn't make any sense. I can't do it." And I immediately thought, well, I could buy the tape and then make copies of it and sell it to all you people out here. And so they went along with it, and I said, okay, copy for $20. So people were sending me tapes, blank tapes in the mail, the smaller tapes, quarter-inch tapes. They'd send me a blank tape in the mail. I'd copy it and send it back to them for $20, and that paid for the tape. That paid for the big reel-to-reel. Everybody was happy. I opened up with that initial tape, I started a landline bulletin board, a dial-up bulletin board system in Scottsdale with a call sign lookup. It wasn't called QRZ. It might have been just called AA7BQ or something. I don't remember now, but it was a dial-up, and then that was in 1992, and 6 months went by, and everybody on the internet, of course, was really happy to have the data, but they wanted an update. It got updated by the FCC once every 6 months. And since I am a programmer, the definition there is that I'm lazy. And sure enough, I did not want to make tapes again. I just said, no, I don't want to do this tape thing and mailing them out. Instead, I thought maybe it would be cool to go to CD-ROM. And it was cool to go to CD-ROM, except that not as many people had them. I mean, everyone still had floppy disks back then. And but I went ahead with it anyway, and I managed to find a company that sold shareware on CD and asked them if I could have some space on one of their disks to as a transport mechanism. And they said, no, why don't we just do a Hamradio CD? And so I said, okay, we'll do that. And I put that CD together, and I called it QRZ because while I was working on it, I happened to be listening to a contest, and I kept hearing people say QRZ all the time. So that's what we called it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't too long after that in conjunction with my job, I met some people that were starting an actual internet startup, and the Mosaic browser had just come out, and everybody was real excited. And I was able to talk my way into dropping my server into their back room so that I could write on their internet connection. And I was super excited. They had a T1 line there. That was 56K.
Yeah.
I was
T1s.
super excited.
Yeah.
And to get the domain name QRZ, I wrote an email to the internet, and and I just filled out their little form online. I said I want to call it QRZ, and they just said okay, and I got the name just like that.
Mm.
There was no fees, no payment, nothing. I just was given the name QRZ.com. And that was October of 1993 that happened. And we've been on the air continuously ever since.
That is great. You got people in the chat talking about how they remember bulletin board systems. They're like, "Oh yeah, BBS, that's old school." And one guy even said he remembers that CD, getting that CD in the mail. So that's good.
Yeah,
that is awesome. So QRZ has come a long way since then. This is the front page. The worst thing about this website, honestly, is that my ugly mug's on the front page so often. And but
we can fix that.
Yeah. Yeah, we can probably fix that. Some people don't like that, actually, but that's okay. That's all right. We're all good. But the great thing about QRZ, man, is it provides a service that people don't understand what it is until you get in there and do it. When I started last year, excuse me, I started last year a new playlist on my channel called the New Ham Workshop, because we had this influx of people coming into the hobby last year because everybody was stuck at home and finally had time to study for the ham radio test. And a lot of people, at least, were coming by my channel and asking questions. What do I do now? What do I do with this? Or how do I get licensed? And what do I do with this after I get licensed? That kind of thing. So I started this playlist called the New Ham Workshop. And one of the first videos I put up there was called Now What? And it said, now what, ? 7 things to do after you're getting your first ham radio license. And one of those steps is to go and register for QRZ.com. And even though when you get your, and Fred, maybe you can explain exactly how this works, but when you get your first ham radio license and you get your first FRN number and first call sign, somehow that I guess you API it from the FCC ULS into QRZ, but there's not really an account there for that person until they go and create themselves a password behind their call sign so that they can log in and create their own front page, QRZ.com / their call sign front page and whatnot. So explain how that works, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. Well, of course, we're open to every amateur radio operator in the world. Any ham can come to QRZ and sign up for an account and be a welcome member. That's been that way ever since the beginning. There's about 1.8 million call signs in our database right now, and of those, only about 800,000 of them are U.S. calls. The way it works with a call sign is that our system registers users like any other system does, and we'll take any name as a registered username. But when you register, we look at that name and see if it matches a call sign. If it does match a call sign that we have, then we assign it to you, and you're off and running. On the other hand, if you're a ham and you set up an account and you give it the name, Sparky, for instance, as your handle, that doesn't match to any call sign, and as a result, when you come on the site, you won't be recognized as a ham. And sometimes people ask us, well, I can't get into my page, and we just tell them it's because your username has to be your call sign. So the other thing that we try and do is to keep the data as accurate as possible. We don't let people come in from anywhere and just create a call sign and say, this is my call. it's pretty easy to see how that would be mayhem.
Mhm.
And for the most part, I'm talking about non-USA call signs, because, like you said, we get all of our data from the FCC, and so we never ever input a call sign into our database from the FCC. We download from them every single day, and every day they publish the things that have changed from yesterday. The funny thing is, though, they don't get it published until the next day, but nevertheless, within 1 or 2 days, we always get the data,
Uh-huh.
and uh, and it goes into the system that way. Now, for foreign call signs, we let the foreign hams enter the call sign in themselves. However, we have this rule that unless you're a ham member on QRZ, you can't add a call sign. So a lot of people get tripped up by that, because they'll come in from Indonesia, let's say, and they'll say, okay, my call sign is Yankee Bravo 1 ABC, and I registered as that, but I can't find my call sign anywhere. And then we create it for them, and they're okay. But the gist of that is that somebody who's already a member has to add the call, and somebody who's already a ham member has to add the call. And so that prevents people from just plucking one out of thin air and establishing themselves as a QRZ member. And it's not perfect.
Mhm.
There probably are some pirates out there in the database. There's no way for us to know in many cases.
Mhm.
The FCC doesn't exist in most of the world. In some parts of the world, ham radio licenses are kept on 3x5 index cards in some government office somewhere. There's no access to the data whatsoever. So we do our best to validate everybody that comes on and to make sure they're a real ham. And we even go so far as to ask for certificates and things of that nature, especially from non-US people. But uh, we basically do our best to make sure that anyone who is a ham can come to QRZ and enjoy being there.
Great. Yeah. See, here I'm thinking again that the world revolves around the FCC, which actually, thankfully, that's not true. But yeah. I forget. I don't forget. I just kind of assume that other countries have something similar to the FCC, where you can go access the database and pull in the information. But that's interesting to hear that. And I knew that wasn't true, but I wasn't sure how some countries did it. But the 3x5 index card thing, I hadn't heard that before. It doesn't surprise me, but that's news to me. Some places, I don't know. Maybe they just don't want the information out there. Maybe that's why they don't do it that way.
Well, it's that, and the old joke goes, it's hidden in a mayonnaise jar under the front porch. But
Yeah, right.
but some of the countries are very small and they can't afford.
Yeah.
They just don't have any budget for putting ham radio online. Uh, there are countries that don't have, frankly, a very big computer infrastructure when it comes to the government bureaucracy.
Hmm.
So, but even the big countries like Australia, uh, they have their data online, but I can't go and download it. They don't have I can't just go and download one big file of all the Australians and then keep the data in our database maintained from it, because they don't offer that. In Europe, for example, there's this European data protection thing, which
Right.
I believe started in Germany, but nevertheless, they flat out won't release the call sign data at all. And
Hmm.
but they did assign the German Amateur Radio Club (DARC), which is kind of the equivalent, of the ARRL. They
Hmm.
gave them the database to manage, and of course, they monetized it, and so it's not available to us either.
Oh, wow.
So we almost get no call signs from official government sources outside of the United States. We can get the Canadian ones, but they tend to be a little bit out of date as well. But
Hmm.
but that's it. It's a community that's built on trust amongst the members themselves, and so far it's worked out really well.
That's good. That's good. Good. What I mean, like I said a minute ago, there's a lot of different stuff out here. I mean, the main thing that I mentioned when I was talking about my 7 things to do after getting your license is the fact that you can go on here and look up call signs, like when you're working someone on HF bands, or you go out to a POTA event, you're like, oh, that call sign's a such and such, where are they? And you can go look up on QRZ.com and find out what that person's name is and find out where they are. But you have to log in. You can't just they don't just post, like if you go to QRZ.com and log in, or and don't log in and look up a call sign, it'll tell you the call signs there. It'll show you the call signs there. I don't remember if it tells you the person's name or not, but it doesn't show their address, contact info, anything like that until you log in. So there's a secure wall to keep people's information somewhat private. And a lot of people don't realize. Now, again, I'm going to speak for the USA again. A lot of people don't realize that information is readily available on the FCC ULS anyway. So anyone who can bumble their way through that kind of a little bit confusing website on the universal licensing system, fcc.gov, can find that information if they really wanted to. But QRZ just kind of makes it easier. You can set up like I think they call it a biography or a bio page or something like that. The front page, KC5 HWB homepage, I think it's called, or something like that. You can say, I can put in there links to my YouTube channel or pictures of my shack. A lot of guys do pictures of their shacks. Some of the guys outside of the USA have some really cool ham shacks that are posted on there. But you can do all that stuff once you create an account and actually log in. You can find information. Some really good swap pages as well. You can find used gear for sale and items for sale, just not only radios, but all kinds of stuff having to do with ham radio and that kind of thing. So what do you think, Fred, is some of the most popular of the section? Like if you go to the website here, you can see you've got databases, news, forums, stores, swap meet, resources, and contact at the top bar there across blue in the top. What do you think are some of the most popular pages that people visit and keep people coming back again over and over to the site?
Well, the most popular page is and always has been a ham radio call sign lookup. Mm-hmm. People, QRZ has kind of changed the way that people operate nowadays on the air in a very real way. You can set up in the middle of the forest and start calling CQ, and people will answer you with your first name.
Yeah.
And how did they figure that out? Well, they looked you up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They looked you up before they even answered the call. And that's 100% our doing. Mm-hmm. And we didn't set out for that to happen. It just sort of a natural outgrowth of the way things happen. So mm-hmm. That's made a big difference. The other parts of the site that are really big, the logbook has gotten increasingly more popular over the last couple of years. It's a major focus of our website now. Mm-hmm. And we've got several hundred, I don't know the number, several hundred million QSOs online, and a huge percentage of them get confirmed. One of the things you can be sure about with QRZ, and especially with respect to foreign call signs, is that you have to consider this. The foreign call signs that are listed on QRZ mm-hmm. were put there by the hams themselves. That mm-hmm. means offhand that they're active. And that means that you do have a way of contacting them. I mean, that, so in essence, any ham anywhere in the world, if they're interested in QSLing or whatever, they're mm-hmm. going to post their call sign on QRZ. You can bet on it. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why would anyone not use QRZ? Mm-hmm. There are a couple of competing websites out there that seek to do the same thing as we do. In fact, I can think of one that does exactly what we do and has copied almost everything that we've done. Mm. And despite all those efforts, they're not really making a dent, in terms mm-hmm. of traffic, our mm-hmm. traffic, because there's no, I mean, we're doing a reasonable job. We're doing a good job, I would say, mm-hmm. a great job mm-hmm. of keeping people connected, and it's free. Did I mention that? It's free, mm-hmm. and people from all over the world are there. Everyone is there. So there's sort of a magic sauce there that makes QRZ work. You know, not everything is free on our site. You know, we do have subscriptions and certain service upgrades that you can get, especially having to do with logging and things of that nature. But it isn't about free. Free isn't a value proposition. You know, nothing that's free really has great value. You have to think about that for a minute, but it's true. And QRZ depends on subscribers for its very existence, and yet it's amazing that perhaps only 5% of all of our users have become subscribers, and yet those 5% keep the wheels turning for the 95% for everyone else. So next time you come to QRZ, think about that. Think about subscribing. It's pretty cheap. You can't get a tank of gas for what it costs for a full year of QRZ. Just think about that for a minute. And the more subscribers we get, the more services we can offer. And we like what we're doing, and we want to share it with as many people as possible.
That's great. Yeah, I am. I am a recent renewal subscriber. I think I renewed a couple of months ago, something like that. I had a subscription for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years in a row, something like that, and I let that fall off, and I don't remember why right now. I let it fall off, and then I renewed it just not too long ago. So I've done, and I like the fact that, well, first of all, I think at one point in time, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think at one point in time you had to be a paid subscriber to post in the swap chat, which is not the case anymore, I don't believe. I think that's changed.
No, that's the opposite. Yeah, that's the opposite.
Is it?
It recently, a few months back, switched over to subscribers only for the swap meet, for the swap.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
I can talk about that a bit if you like. There's
sure. Please do. Yeah, because I know for the Swap Fest, and you can share whatever you want to. I know for the Swap Meet pages, there's a lot of concern. Some of it's probably unfounded about scammers being on the website. But through the verification process you already talked about, hopefully that's to a minimum. But yes, please do talk about the paid subscription for the swap pages. I'd like to hear about that.
Well, the scammers have always been there. However, the biggest and most prolific scams aren't on the Hamradio for sale pages. They're on the Hamradio gear wanted pages. If you post a want on there, like I want an ICOM, 7610, I want one, and you just post that, someone's going to call you and say they have it. And if you send them your money, you might see it, you might not.
Oops.
And if you don't, there's nothing we can do to help you. That's the problem with want ads. They basically are advertising that, hey, I've got a lot of money, I'm eager to spend it, who has what I need? And scammers will put their hand up right away.
Oh yeah.
That's just a fact of life. Throughout the years, we tried our level best to keep the swap meet safe and a good place to make purchases and things like that. And we tried weeding out the scammers. We tried getting identification from having people register to sell in the swap meet. We tried enforcing two-factor authentication. We tried a lot of different things and a whole host of rules. I mean, I was writing rules constantly. I had a big 2-page document full of swap meet rules and how you have to offer things, like putting the call sign in the picture. Right. Yet when you take a picture of a radio, you have to put your call sign in there. Why? It's a proof of life thing. It's like it's telling people that I actually have the equipment here and I didn't steal this picture off of Google, which you can do. You can just go find a picture of whatever you want and post it and say, I'm selling this, So we did all those rules and then we had a team of moderators combing through the stuff and people getting mad all the time because we take their post down because it doesn't conform to the rules. And it was a constant battle, day after day after day, same after. So finally, we decided, we tried so many different things. We said, okay, let's make it subscriber only into the swap meet and then relax the rules. The reason that
my internet blinked for a second, and I think we're back.
Yep.
So, okay, good now. Yeah, there it is. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Not sure what that was. I found out last week when I had this problem, I was running my VPN. I didn't know it was running in the background. I just double checked that, and VPN's not on, so I don't know what that was. Okay, sorry about that, Fred. So, yeah, so you were talking about. I think the last thing I heard was you tried. You made it subscription based, and since then, it's actually been much better.
It's been a lot better. There's been zero scams on the selling side since we've instituted this.
Hmm.
Everybody's happy. It's peaceful. It's quiet. And we're not reprimanding anyone. And we never wanted to anyway. It's just that we're, when you have to enforce rules that protect customers from fraud,
Hmm.
things get a little icky sometimes. But those are all that's gone now, and it's very, very safe and easy. I think it was the right decision.
No, I totally agree. I went out there and I sold a few things myself several months ago, and I don't sell a lot, but I've got some stuff I'm cleaning out of the garage and whatnot. So I went back in there, and that was what, and I'd been thinking about renewing my subscription anyway because QRZ's been really good to me as far as allowing me to post links to some videos. I'll post the link to this interview once we're done here today, and so QRZ's been really good to me about doing that, and I thought, yeah, I probably need to renew anyway, and I just kind of, and then I went to go list something. I'm like, oh, now it's required. I'm like, okay, good. Now I definitely have to do it. So I did that, and I sold a couple of radios that for a friend of mine, and went from there. And it was a really good selling experience. So I had no issues with it at all. In fact, I've been lucky. I've never really actually had an issue selling or buying anything on QRZ. I know some people have, and hopefully those issues are down to a minimum now. But my personal experience has been very positive with the swap pages. But I've never posted in the want to buy. I didn't know that's good information to have. But I've posted stuff for sale, and I have purchased stuff from the for sale pages before, and I've had a good experience in both directions with that type of thing. So that's good to know. So yes, definitely go out there and support QRZ with a subscription-based service if you're able to. All right, so let's see. Let's go back over here. I refreshed my page a second ago, and if you look way over here on the right, look at that. Up there at the top right, there's Tank Radio. He's got his first video link from the front page of QRZ. He's been wanting to do that for such a long time. He's a good dude. He used to be my co-host out here, and he had to go back to work, so he's at the office today. But that's a good place to be for him. So okay, Fred, what else would you like to talk about today? What are some of the biggest challenges you face? I mean, it sounds like you got the scammer thing on the swap and want to buy pages pretty well wrapped up, at least as much as you can. What are some other challenges you currently face with other parts of the website?
Well, everything runs really smoothly for the
That's good.
most part. The most uh, the most support activity we see surrounds the logbook.
Uh-huh.
The logbook, everybody knows they want a logbook and they need one, but a lot of people don't realize that there are certain things that have to be true about a logbook. For example, uh, call sign changes. Call sign changes happen
Yeah.
every single day,
Yeah.
and let's say that you've had a call sign and you've got a logbook and you've got 1,000 QSOs listed in there, and then you go down, you get a new call sign.
Right.
Uh, believe it or not, you need a new logbook for that.
Yeah.
Not, you don't use the old logbook,
Mm-mm.
with a new call sign. You can't. And that freaks a lot of people out. Well, I had 1,000 QSOs here, and now I'm starting off from no. That's
Mm-hmm.
not the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it like this: we don't give awards aren't given to call signs; they're given to people.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
the big thing. So
Mm-hmm.
if you've had several call signs and you can show us those logbooks, we'll base your award based on all of those logbooks or any one of them. It depends on whichever you choose. But the point is, you have to have a separate logbook for each call sign that you use. The reason for that is pretty simple, and that is that when a QSO comes in that we're trying to match up, we you know it can't go to two call signs can't go to the same record. I mean, you can't
Right.
have your old call, the new call. They can't match at the same time. That doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we're also integrated with the LOTW and the Logbook of the World.
Mm-hmm.
Logbook of the World is a big thing for a lot of people, especially the contesters, and almost everyone that's serious about logging and contesting will have a Logbook of the World account. Now, bear in mind, having your logs on Logbook of the World is equivalent to having them on QRZ. I mean, they're both sites that store your entire logbook and match them up against other logbooks for the purposes of obtaining awards. We both do that. We also have it set up so that if you're a member of QRZ, you can have all of your Logbook of the World stuff brought over automatically. We do it for you in the background and bring it all over to the QRZ logbook, and we give you credit for the things that you for the confirmations that you have on LOTW. So we're very accommodating. I wish that LOTW would do the same thing. They will not. They will not accept something that QRZ has blessed, and they won't give you credit for something you earned on QRZ. But frankly, I don't think that's in the spirit of ham radio. I think they should be giving full credit for things that are done on QRZ, just as we give full credit for things that are done on their website. I hope that'll happen. Now, it's not all bad news, because some people enjoy getting certificates of all kinds. I mean, you've seen people that wallpaper their whole shack
Yeah.
with their operating achievements, and yeah, they're gonna go for the same award at QRZ that they got at ARRL and proudly display both of them, and we hope they do. So there's a lot of things about the logbook. Logging is very complicated, especially the newer digital modes. People are wanting to log DMR contacts, or which are essentially voice over IP, which means that you're sitting in front of your computer with a microphone and you're talking to somebody in front of their computer on the other side of the world. How do you log that? Well, if you're an old timer like me, you say, well, you don't. There's nothing radio having to do with that conversation. Even if your radio connect from here to your hotspot on your desk, that does not count as an achievement.
Yeah. I'd like to see, I mean, you're absolutely correct. I agree with 100% of what you just said. I would like to see some sort of reference in there for DMR simplex, some sort of radio to radio begetting the, and I'm talking overall, not just on QRZ, but like people think, well, I made this contact via FM. Well, okay, well, there's a lot of FM repeaters. Did you make it via FM simplex or FM repeater? Because you can get internet connected FM repeaters nowadays too. All-Star and Echolink as an example. So I would like to see some logbook recognized simplex contacts, no matter what mode they're on. FM simplex, DMR, fusion simplex, this type of thing. It's complicated. It's not an easy, let me just click that button and now it's ready to go. I understand that. But, and you're going to get people out there. Well, I talked to Australia on DMR yesterday. Well, not on simplex, you didn't. So that's a little bit different story there. But yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, internet connected contacts, which is not limited to digital. You can do that via All-Star and Echolink. Those aren't real contacts as far as a logbook goes. It's still fun to do. It's one of my favorite things to do. I talk on DMR all the time, but I totally agree with what you just said about the logbook aspect of it.
Yeah, that's other things in the logbook that get complicated have to do with modes, and in particular the digital modes. We've got what, JT8, JT9, JT65, and we got all these different modes. And years ago we used to call that, the mode would be digital, and we would just go with that.
Right.
But now if they change one bit in the protocol, they give it a new name, and now everybody wants to. And what people don't understand is that what's loggable is governed for the most part by a document that's called the ADIF standard, ADIF, the Amateur Data Interchange Format. That's the type of file that you get when you download a logbook and upload it to just about anyone. There have been other formats in the past, but ADIF is now the standard. And there is a published document from the ADIF working group that says what modes can be logged. And because there's an abbreviation for each mode type, they're enumerated, as they say. And if a new mode comes out tomorrow, hey, guess what? You can't log it because we don't have an enumerator for it. You're going to have to petition for that. Or you log it as just the basic, like, a basic FM digital, one of the FM digital modes rather than the protocol. So yeah, mode and protocol, two different things. And I think that logging should be based on mode, but that's just my opinion, and probably we'll get some pushback on that. What do you think?
It's a complicated task for sure, because what I don't want to see happen is I don't want to see all these modes or protocols, if you want to call them that, come into logging softwares like Log4OM or Hamradio Deluxe or something like that. I don't want to see those softwares and files and ADIF files get all gummed up with DMR and Fusion over the internet contacts. I don't want to see that. It's not in the nature of radio. Again, simplex modes are fine. I would like to see some sort of simplex mode support. You could even call it digital voice simplex so that it all encompasses everything, DMR, Fusion, everything. But so if it's radio to radio, then I consider that a real contact. You could be 1 mile away, you could be 20 or 30 miles away if you're on a mountain somewhere, or if you've got a high power station up real, with an antenna up real high. You can make a DMR simplex is actually quite fun, and it reaches out quite well. If you put up a vertical antenna on your 40 or 50 foot tower in the backyard and talk into it with a 40 or 50 watt DMR simplex radio, you'd be surprised how far you can reach. But at the same time, you're not going to talk to another state or country probably. So you'd have to have some really good VHF propagation to do that. But regardless of that, it's still a viable mode in simplex. But yes, gumming up the feed with a bunch of internet contacts is not in the spirit of radio, true RF propagation, in my opinion. So I'm with you. I think I agree with everything you just said. And it is a complicated process. So you can't just like flip a switch and have it turned on. So I'm sure a lot of people get that, talk about that and have different ideas about it. And everybody's got all these requests and everything, blah, blah, blah. So it's hard to keep track of it all, I'm sure.
The other big component of QRZ, we've got the call sign database, we've got the logbook, and we got the forums. And the forums are discussion groups. We're all familiar with them. The big change we made in the discussion groups over the last year is that we eliminated all politics from them completely.
Yes, I saw that.
And I've gotten quite a few nasty grams about that. People going, "Oh, this is violation of freedom of speech and all this kind of stuff."
Gosh.
But I got way more compliments on how great it was that we could finally get that out of here, because, frankly, it's got nothing to do with ham radio. Zero, zip,
right.
Nothing.
Correct.
And not only that, but the divisiveness is incredible. It's guaranteed that half the people on this site don't agree with you politically.
Right.
Yeah. So,
right. Yeah.
And this site wasn't designed to hash that out. And so I went ahead and went for it. Canceled. I used to have a political group on QRZ. My thought at the time was, well, we'll just usher these people over there and let them hash it out. But finally, I had to get rid of that too. And just, there's just no point in it. Like, I want this place to be a place where you come to get away from it all. And by golly, that was the whole reason for that.
Yeah. Now, if you want to argue with someone about politics, go to Facebook. There's plenty of that going around Facebook. In fact, that's why I don't get on Facebook much anymore. Sheesh. Yeah. There are certainly places for that. QRZ is not one of them, in my opinion. I think that was a fantastic decision. And as far as I'm gonna get a little bit political here for a half a second. I hope you don't mind. But as far as the First Amendment goes, the First Amendment guarantees that the government can't come in and stifle your speech. QRZ is not the government. It's a privately owned business entity website that they give you a site for free on that they do not owe to you. So it is impossible for QRZ or any other website out there to limit your freedom of speech because they are not the U.S. government. There, I've said it. I'm done. That's it.
Well, I would just add to that. I would add to that the freedom of speech is mine. I get the freedom of speech.
Right. Correct.
I get to say what I want on my website, and the beauty of it is you can start your own website.
That's right. That's
that sounds good for me. That feels really good for me. But I can't really compare it to like Facebook.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's Facebook has 1 billion people looking at it, and the kind of mom and pop attitude I have with my little website here doesn't compare to Facebook. I believe that I'm going to dip into it very slightly here, but I'll say they've got too much power. And that's all I have to say about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. So good deal. No, the political thing was a good decision, I think. I mean, just go somewhere else to do that. Plenty of that stuff on Reddit as well if you don't want to go to Facebook. So this not the place for it. All right. Well, kind of the last question I had for you. And you may not want to share some of it, and that's okay. But what I'm sure you get requests for upgrades and updates to the website. What can we expect to see over the course of the next 6 months to a year? What kind of new features are you working on, if any? And what kind of updates or something you're going to add or something you're going to enhance that's there now? Can you talk about any of that?
Yeah, we got one big update coming.
Okay.
It's going to well, first of all, let me say I've never changed or added anything on QRZ that didn't come with a bunch of complaints. Nothing.
Yeah, it's true.
What we're going to do is we're going to replace the forum software. The software that runs our forums is a commercial package known as Zenforo. Okay. We're several years behind on that software, and it needs to be updated. But we've decided to update it, but we've chosen a different type of software, and it's going to look different. It's going to feel different. It's going to have different menus, different paradigms. All this different stuff is going to fill our inbox, I'm sure, with confusion and complaints. On the other hand, there's a lot of people going to like it a lot because it's modern, it's sleek, it has what's known as adaptability. The word I'm thinking is it's responsive. It will tailor itself to fit a smaller device, for example, if you're operating on a smaller device. So, but it's only the forums. It's only the discussion forums. Okay. Nothing changes in the logbook. Nothing changes on the call sign pages. But it's still internally to QRZ a very big thing. We've been working on it for months now. We've already got it running on a dedicated server for testing at this time. It's going to happen, and I just ask for everyone's support and understanding that things are going to be different. Doesn't mean they're bad. So let's give it a shot.
Cool. Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's with growth comes change, and if that software is as old as what you just said it was, then yeah, it's definitely time for an update because every other website on the internet updates periodically as well. People are resistant to change. I can kind of understand that because you get used to something and the way things work. But if it overall enhances the features and adds more features, then I think that's a good thing. When do you think that might be ready to go?
I'm thinking it should happen this summer before the fall comes along. We're getting pretty close. I don't really have a date for you though.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's no problem. Cool.
I don't have a date for myself.
Not yet. Switch. Good. Okay. Well, hey, if anyone in the chat has has a question before we wrap it, we got about another 10 minutes or so for the top of the hour. So if anyone has a question, go ahead and post it. Put 2 question marks in front of your question so I can see it. As I said in the beginning, Frank, our co-host, who's usually in the back watching questions and keeping them for me, he had to go back to work. He has to go to it. Well, back to his office, I should say. He's been working from home for like a year and a half, and he had to go back to his office. So I no longer have a co-host for daytime streams, but I'm working on that. So we're gonna bring in someone new, maybe next week, maybe the week after. In fact, he was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still listening. But so let me know if you have any questions or not. But Fred, I really do appreciate your time today. Once again, QRZ.com is a fantastic resource that provides a service to the ham radio community, and lots of times for free, like we said earlier. And it's very valuable. I think if we didn't have it, we would miss it, because we wouldn't have it for a short period of time until someone else figured out the same thing you figured out early on. Is like, hey, this is needed. Then a new website would spin up. So let's see. A couple of questions. When can we post pics from our iPhones onto QRZ? I don't understand that question, Todd. You can post pics on your own page now. Doesn't matter where it was taken. Is there any way to get a logbook of the world to query automatically? I think you touched on that earlier.
Automatic query to the logbook. No, not really. It doesn't really, the logbook of the world does not really have a query interface that we can attach to in real time. The question sort of sounds like you'd like to see a view that perhaps encompassed both logbooks at, LOTW and ours at the same time. That's not really going to be possible. You might expand on the question a little, but in general, afraid there's not much we can do for that.
Yeah. Okay. But you said it's synchronized with you synchronize with Logbook of the World in one way. Like, they don't recognize your stuff, but you recognize their stuff. So there's a way to do that somehow?
No, they'll recognize our stuff.
Okay.
If we log a contact on QRZ and you upload it to LOTW, which is all part of the interface, if you do that, they'll accept it.
Okay.
But they won't accept a confirmation.
Oh,
like,
they won't. Okay.
Let's say it's a confirmed QSO over here. They won't accept it as confirmed. They want the other party to log it as well on their side.
They want you to confirm on LOTW. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is that we leave cards out in the cold totally. We cannot take cards. We cannot accept QSL cards. There's nothing we can do for a QSL card. On the other hand, LOTW still has the card bureau.
Yes.
So.
True. All right. He so expanded on the question. He says, so I don't have to manually import from QRZ or from LOTW. I guess that's pretty much the question we're answered. Yeah, there's not a way to do that, fortunately. So
I suppose it might be possible to do a timed thing where we do synchronize like once a week with your LOTW account automatically. I've never thought about that before, but the thought just occurred to me now. That might be interesting.
Kind of schedule it and have it gone like a cron job or something. Might be an idea. Okay, so James Kelly asks, a mobile-friendly logbook would be awesome for portable operations. Is this a feature on Backlog, or that you've thought of?
Really, really tough, because as you use the logbook, you realize that there are so many data fields, so many things. It's like 100 different things that can be put into a QSO, even though 9 times out of 10 it's just frequency, call sign, time and date, and mode. But that's a real challenge, putting it on a phone. We don't have a phone app developer per se. I've tried my hand at developing some phone apps. I've developed a QRZ app for Android. It was up for a few years. It's gone now. There's an Apple iOS app, but it was it's kind of going stale as well. We didn't develop that in-house either. If someone came along and wanted to develop an app for QRZ, we would help them. We would give them resources to do that. But it's very hard, very difficult to find someone who knows what they're doing and can produce quality software to come in and do work for you, because all those guys are already employed doing that for other companies and earning a lot of money for it. So when that happens, we might, but until then, it's going to have to be browser based.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that answers that question. Okay. So Todd kind of expands on the iPhone question. The pics always go sideways. You can't post from iPhones. So maybe if there was a way to edit pictures after they're uploaded where you could rotate them 90 degrees.
I think we have that now.
Okay.
I think we have that in the photo edit. It's iPhone's fault.
I'm okay with blaming iPhone for most things.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, it's iPhone's fault that they're sideways, but
yeah.
I believe there's a flip version over. I think there is. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but our programmer Steven, the VA7STV, he's the one that does all of our software. I'm pretty sure he put that in there.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm going to get in N5SKT's question, then we're going to wrap it up, guys. Any new awards on the horizon, especially interested in Slow Scan TV awards?
Slow Scan TV awards.
Or any new awards.
Yeah, or any new awards. I've never seen Slow Scan TV in person. Okay, I've only seen pictures of it.
Yeah.
In order for us to have a successful award, there needs to be like a certain boiling point, a certain critical mass, so to speak, and we don't have it. There's only appreciate your hobby there, but there's not enough people. It would be hard to get an award for Slow Scan TV unless, I don't know. No, I guess is the answer to that.
Yeah. I don't even know. I don't know that I've ever actually looked for an award for that even in Logbook of the World. I don't know if that exists or not. So
other awards, though, we have we've been doing awards based on geographic regions. I think we've the most recent one was North America. We've done North America, South America, Asia. I tell you what, if the way it works here is that we actually look for things that are that people will be interested in, and if you can think of an award that we don't have, granted, this Slow Scan TV was a good one, let us know, and if we see that there's ground support for it, we'll make an award.
Totally. Good. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. I usually like to keep this to 1 hour for people's lunch breaks. So we're going to go ahead and zip it up there. Unless Fred, unless you have any final words or final thoughts for us today.
Well, my final word is I'd just like to point out to everyone that I am super grateful for all the support that the ham community has given me personally and the site QRZ. There's only 4 people working there. Don't ever think that it's a big corporation or anything. It's me, my daughter, a programmer, and a support guy. That's how it works around here. And we truly appreciate your support, and we're here to help you, the community, and to make a living for ourselves. And it's all working out. And I can't say anything but my sincere thank you to the Hamradio community.
Well, I'll speak for myself and maybe for a couple of other people that I know as well. But on behalf of this channel, we really do appreciate everything that QRZ does, because you guys are a great resource for information sharing and just camaraderie amongst other ham radio operators. Yeah, there's some heated debates that go on in there sometimes, but people don't realize. Sometimes people don't realize that a lot of the heated debates are from people just like me and the guys in the chat. They're not. It's not like QRZ admins are getting in there stirring up trouble or anything like that. So people were. In fact, tell the audience what you said earlier, Fred, before the stream started about going to a ham fest.
Oh, well, if people say, they read ridiculous or inflammatory things on QRZ, I'd say you should just go to any ham fest, any decent ham fest, and just listen to what people are talking about as they walk around. That's the same thing they're talking about here on QRZ. Although I will say this, people get a little more brave when they're behind the keyboard than face to face.
Yes, they do. Yes, they certainly do. So that's, truer words were never spoken in this day and age. My goodness. So, all right. Well, thank you, Fred, for your time today. Great resource, great website. Hope to catch you at a show sometime soon. You're going to go to Huntsville?
Not this year.
Okay. It's going to be a big bash, I think, this year. It's the first.
It should be
the first really decent sized ham fest we've had since COVID. And
say hi to Robbie for me when you're there. Gigaparts Robbie.
I will. Yeah.
Great guy. Yeah. Say hi to him.
I met him face to face for the first time last April. Drove through there and stopped at their store. So that was fun. Yeah. Great folks out there at Gigaparts in Huntsville. So, but yeah, 73, Fred, thank you for your time today. Appreciate you being on the show. And if you want to hang out in the Zoom chat for a second, I'll chat at you after I shut this down.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, let me switch this over here. So, guys, we really do appreciate everyone being here today. We do appreciate Fred's time today. And QRZ is a really great resource. I've said for a while. Sometimes we get a little bit mouthy with it in comments and whatnot, but we're not talking about the site itself. We're talking about some of the discussions that happen. That's a good way to say it. Some of the discussions that happen. You should see some of the discussions we have in Discord. That kind of counts. But special thanks to Fred today for taking the time out to talk with us about this great website. For the Discord links, do go check hamradio2.com. At the very top of that page, I've got links to my email list, to my Discord, several other places like that. So you guys can always find that. That's there 24/7. I share Discord links to Discord in the chat often, but the links are there on the front page of my website 24/7. So 73 Doll, thank you very much for your time today, and we will catch you guys tomorrow for Thursday Night Ham Radio, which I think is probably just going to be my 2 hour and 15-minute long extra video, plus the FT8 off on either TO or Sean's channel tomorrow night. I can't remember which channel it's on, but we'll have that go up. So there'll be a playlist that Frank will probably post later today. And so 73, thank you all to watching, and you guys have a good one.